Hello everybody and welcome to Shelf Indulgent. My name's Devin and today I have a wrap up for you guys. So I know this is a bit late, but I want to talk to you about all of the books that I read in March. So I managed to read a total of 6 books in March. I don't think that's a particularly high number, but I'm kind of impressed with myself for finishing that many at all. In the month of March, I actually bought my first home and spent 2 weeks moving from my apartment to my home, and my life was kind of upside down, so the fact that I read 6 books feels like an accomplishment anyway. That being said, let's go ahead and start talking about the books. The first book that I read in the month of March was Shrill by Lindy West. So I actually picked this book up because I was aware that there was a TV adaptation coming in early March, early April. And I have had this one on my TBR for a long time. I actually first heard about it, I think, from Emily at Possibly Literate, and I will link her channel down below. She has a fantastic channel with amazing content, so do yourself a favor and go subscribe. But she spoke really highly of this book, and it made me really want to push it to the top of my TBR. And she was absolutely right. I loved everything about this book. I could not find a single flaw. It felt like one of those books that I just was like nodding my head emphatically to everything that Lindy West was saying. I so wholeheartedly agree with the message of this book. It is phenomenal. I did talk about this one also in a book haul video a while back when I purchased it. But basically, Lindy West is a writer and she has a background in comedy and she's a feminist, and she wrote this amazing, amazing memoir, which basically is just really honest and really funny and really good. I just loved everything about it. I highly, highly recommend this book. I also recommend the TV adaptation that came out earlier this month on Hulu. I watched that and it was fantastic as well. The next book that I read in March was kind of a weird one for me. This was Tell the Machine Goodnight by Katie Williams. I picked this one up at the library because I just happened to see it and it struck my fancy, and then I realized that it was on my TBR on Goodreads. So I had to pick it up. This book is really difficult to describe. So the library had it shelved as fantasy, but it strikes me more as science fiction. It also feels very much like a character study because it's not very story driven, which is very different from most things I read. So I actually really, really enjoyed that aspect of it. So this book is set in the future, and we begin following Pearl, whose job is to administer therapy through machines. And these machines, I don't remember if they even have a name. The machines basically can tell you how to be happy. So Pearl's job is to make people happy. They meet her, they have this session, she gives them 3 things that will make them happy. And sometimes the things make sense. Sometimes they're a little weird. So then we kind of follow Pearl, and through Pearl we end up following her teenage son who is dealing with some issues. And then it kind of goes from there, and each character kind of introduces you to a new character that you then start to follow. And you do go back and visit some of the original characters, so you do get kind of an ending, but I don't know. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. I haven't read anything like this before, and I really, really appreciated it. The next book that I want to talk about, I really wanted to love. That is A Mouthful of Birds by Samanta Schweblin. This book I actually won in a Goodreads giveaway, and I am doing a giveaway of this book currently on my book haul video. I'll put the link to that giveaway below if you want to enter it. This one, unfortunately, I've heard so many good things about it. I think I went in with too high of hopes. I will say the first short story in this collection blew me away. I still think about that story. I absolutely loved it. But with the rest of the stories, I just felt like there was something I was missing. Samanta Schweblin is an Argentinian writer, and these were translated into English. So I don't know if that was in the translation or if there's some sort of like political statement from Argentina that I'm not aware of that I was missing. I did love a lot of the stories in here. It just didn't blow me away, which is what I was expecting. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I would still highly recommend it for anyone who really likes short stories. But I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, sadly. Up next is a book that I DNF'd. I do not DNF books frequently. I am one of those people who will read a book until the bitter end. But this book just kept leaving a bad taste in my mouth. And I have so many books on my TBR right now that I decided to just stop reading it. So that book is You're Never Weird on the Internet, Almost, by Felicia Day. So it's kind of difficult for me to explain exactly why I DNF'd this book without sounding super judgmental. I went into this book thinking I was going to relate really well with Felicia Day. Felicia Day was born and raised in Alabama, much like myself. She was homeschooled, much like myself. She's also a huge nerd, much like myself. But this book just came off very braggy and very I'm not like other women, which is a huge turnoff for me. So I quit reading it. I did not rate this book because I didn't finish it and I don't plan to. But if you have read this book all the way through and you think that there is something that will pull me back in and make me care about the last half of this book, then leave a comment down below and tell me whether I should pick this one up again or not. But at the moment, I have no plans to finish this book, which is super disappointing because I really wanted to love this. Up next is another book that I did love. I gave this one 5 stars, I believe, and that is Akata Witch by Nnedi Okorafor. In this book, we follow Sunny. Because of her albinism and because of the fact that she is actually from America and living in Nigeria where her family is from, she always kind of feels like an outsider. And then she starts to discover some hidden powers, and she is introduced to the leopard people. And this book is just absolutely charming. I loved Sunny. I loved every character in this book. Every character feels super strong, super fleshed out. I am actually currently reading the sequel to this one right now because it was so good. And the last book that I read in March was Sex Object by Jessica Valenti. So this is a memoir written by Jessica Valenti all about every time that she was objectified as a woman in this world. I will say this book could be a very difficult read, especially if you find sexual assault or harassment against women in general triggering. I would not recommend reading this. However, I appreciated this memoir greatly. I'm going on a bit of like a nonfiction kick right now, and I'm just enjoying nonfiction so much. I just really appreciated Jessica's voice and hearing her story in her own words, and it was just really nice. I definitely plan on picking up more from this author. This is the first book I've ever read by her, and apparently she has several others. She's a well-known author in the feminist world, so I'm going to pick up some more. So those are all the books that I read in the month of March. What did you guys read in March? Be sure to comment below, and if you read any of these books, comment below and tell me what you thought. Don't forget to enter the giveaway for Mouthful of Birds if you would like to win your own copy. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye!